Mason there. With me now is Lucy Annson, a spokesperson for UK Uncut. Thanks for coming in, Lucy.
Thanks for having me.
Just talk us through your position on the kind of violence at Saturday's march. It's noticeable you haven't condemned it, do you?
Well, we are a group we are a network of people who are growing. We're a group of people who self-organise. We don't have a position on things. What we do is share resources to be able to plan actions against the cuts, and it's very much about empowering the individual to go out there and be creative and take civil disobedience.
Okay, well, when the individual's empowered, does he attack buildings, and does he think it's wrong if other people attack buildings? That's what I'm asking.
Well, you might have to ask that particular individual. I mean, certainly.
Well, what do you think? You're a spokesperson for UK Uncut. What do you think?
Well, I'm a spokesperson for myself. I've never been involved in an action where there's been any property damage. I like creativity. I like using art as my form of protest, which is why
Well, is a smash window creative? Is it art? Is it? I mean, do you think that's a good way to protest?
My interpretation is that no, I wouldn't choose to smash a window, but that's actually my decision. And in terms of UK Uncut, we create alternative spaces. We have spaces inside banks where we've turned them into libraries, into forests, into creches. We have children and pensioners attending our actions.
Do you think your children, your pensioners and the unions that support you would quite like to hear you condemn the violence? I mean, it can't be that hard, can it?
I think in many ways, I think there's an oversimplification. There's a sort of a pantomime auditorium ongoing at the moment. Condemn or condone, condemn or condone. Well, actually, what we want to talk about is the issues.
Throwing things at an officer, or somebody's throwing things at people in the crowd, or somebody's smashing a bank's window or a shop's window, or whatever, is that a good thing or isn't it? It's not a pantomime question I'm asking here. Is it a bad thing to do?
It is an simplification of what happens at a demonstration. A demonstration is a space where many things are in flux. There are many people with different opinions and different tactics. UK Uncut provides spaces which are creative and fun and inclusive.
Okay, so if people infer from what you're saying that you're not an entirely peaceful organisation, that would be pretty fair, right?
I don't think that would be fair to say. I don't think anyone's in a position to make an assessment other than the people involved in the actions themselves.
You don't want to condemn the violence?
I don't think that's a fair question to ask, and I'm going to reject the premise of that question.
Are you worried that Black Bloc people will use UK Uncut, become UK Uncut, you become this conduit for, you know, essentially full-on anarchists?
I think there's probably conversations to have amongst all people involved in the anti-cuts movement. This is a very young anti-cuts movement. It's germinating at the moment. We have, for the first time, a huge display of spectacular unity in the Trade Union Congress March. Trade unionists, ordinary people marching, more than a quarter of a million people. It was absolutely inspiring.
But your Twitter hashtag could be "We don't really mind," couldn't it? We don't really mind if you join us, if you infiltrate us, if you throw things, if you smash windows. Anything goes, right?
Is that a tweet that's gone out from the?
No, I'm just interested. I mean, I'm trying. You know, that was how you began, of course. You know, as a sort of collective mass on Twitter.
As an idea, as a piece of inspiration that you can do something about the cuts, and that's what civil disobedience is. I mean, I'm for the first time got involved in direct action just before Christmas. I'd never put myself in the way of anything before, and I found it to be a really empowering experience. For such a long time, we've been so scared about what these cuts are, and now there is something we can do.
But what I'm trying to work out is, why is it more empowering than just joining a solid march of 250,000 people who are all pretty much saying the same thing?
Well, I think that's actually incorrect. People aren't always saying the same thing in a march of people. I did join the march. We had a block on the march, and UK Uncut were really proud to be part of the trade union march on the Saturday. It was absolutely fantastic to march together, and we moved away rather than go for the rally. Yeah, that's right, and we moved away rather than go to the rally in Hyde Park. We then went off into Oxford Street to hold these creative occupations where we turned Boots into an NHS hospital to campaign against the cuts. We had a comedy venue.
All right, well,
in
just
Soho
will you
Square.
change anything? You've had a lot of arrests, you've taken over Fortnum's, all the rest of it, graffiti on the wall. Is anything going to change in your tactics, or was that kind of as planned?
Right now we're very interested in looking at the police tactics, and we're very disturbed by the filming that we saw of police lying to protesters, saying, actually, no, you're not going to be arrested, you're not going to be kettled. And that figure of 200 people who are causing trouble needs to be reduced. I know the Met's denying that was political, but just got to get that in before we end. Thank you very much. It's a political situation, and we'll be taking legal advice about wrongful arrest.
Lucy Annson, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's all from News.